So are the following spreads for week 2 too high or too low? So let's start with the Thursday night game between New York and Washington. The football team is favored by 3 points at home. They're going to be without the man who started week 1 for them. Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course, went down with a hip injury. Taylor Heineke will take over under center. So is 3 points too high or too low for Washington to be favored by? Julian, talk to me.
Yeah, I think this is actually too low. And I know, a starting quarterback gets knocked out, a home favorite loses week 1. This spread is going to shrink. That makes sense. But the look-ahead line here on Sunday before the games got underway was Washington minus 5.5. And let's remember what we saw from the Giants at home in week 1. That Denver defense did exactly what we thought it was going to do to that New York offensive line. And that was make it very difficult for them to score. They got 13 points, and that was kind of almost backdoored. So now you're telling me that the Giants have to go on the road on a short week in a divisional game here. This is almost a pure Giants fate. I think that front with Chase Young is going to get a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones, who was nothing special once again at home on Sunday. And the drop-off from Fitzmagic to Taylor Heineke isn't as bad as it's kind of being perceived. Heineke had a solid little game in the playoffs in the wild card round against Tom Brady and that vicious Bucs defense. He's putting up decent numbers in the past in very limited opportunities, but I think at home on a short week, I will go ahead and lay the 3 here with the football team.
Dang, AJ, are you following suit?
Absolutely. I mean, when you consider the Broncos put up the 4th most rushing yards in week 1 against the Giants, I'm not sure the concern for me is really going to be who's under center, right? Washington being favored by a field goal, give or take, feels about right for me. As Julian said, if Fitz was healthy, I would have expected to see this line closer to, say, 5 or 6. As long as Antonio Gibson, who is a little banged up, as long as he's healthy and available, Washington should be able to get past the Giants here, and I think 3 is about a good mark for that.
All right, dudes. AJ, the Texans shocking everyone in the entire planet with how they played against the Jags in week 1. Tyrod Taylor leading the way as that Texans offense put up 37 points in Houston. Now they get a real test, though, against a real team, a Browns team that just went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. Cleveland is favored by 12.5 points. That's the largest spread on the main slate. Is that too high or too low?
Well, I'll start by saying I'll admit I was completely caught off guard by this result. I was jumping on Houston all last week. Tyrod Taylor was definitely impressive. He used his legs to pick up 40 yards on the ground. But even with that, it just feels like this is way too high to me right now, right? The Browns certainly looked good. Nick Chubb didn't have any big runs, but, he averaged 5.5 yards per carry, caught both of his targets, got into the end zone twice. But 12.5 is just way too high here for me. I would probably need it to drop down under 10 to really consider taking the Browns to cover here.
Hey, Jules, Houston 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 games against Cleveland.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is. It's a fact.
I won't be taking it into account. Emerson, I'm sorry that you were so caught off guard that a 1-win team with a rookie quarterback and rookie head coach got favored on the road in week 1.
Yeah, I was hammering that, bro.
Imagine that. This is a tough one. I can't bet this at 12.5, but I think that the number is too low. The Browns are coming off a loss. The Texans are coming off a win. They're going on the road now to Cleveland. I think this one opened 11.5, and we had DK Sportsbook's own Johnny Avello on the Unreasonable Odds podcast on Monday, which you can check out on Twitter. And he said that he thinks this one's going up. This is going to 13. This is going to 14 throughout the course of the week. Did the Browns win it by 2 touchdowns? I don't know. These ones are always tough to bet. They'll be up 14 late in the game. Did the Texans get the late touchdown? Did they fall short? It's not something I want to bet on, but like for teasers to get this one to the 6.5 range and get this to under 7, I think you could do that with Cleveland. If you really want to go steep on a money line parlay, the Browns aren't losing this game. So I won't bet this one, but I think that this one is too low for the spread.
All right, tight on time. Let's pick this up a little bit. Julian, the Eagles were another team with low expectations that impressed in week 1, dismantling the Falcons 32-6. Now they get the Niners, who handled the Lions despite a surprisingly tight ending to that game. So San Fran is favored by 3.5 on Sunday. Too high or too low?
So this one I think is too high. We're on San Francisco. This one's just about right. This is 3 to 4 area. I thought we were doing Minnesota, Arizona. I thought it would be 3 to 4. They put it 3.5. It's perfect. We're short on time. That's all I got.
All right, AJ, too high, too low, just right?
I think it's about right. You know, even with the news that Raheem Mostert's going to be out long term, Elijah Mitchell stepped up big time, 3rd most rushing yards in week 1 with 104. Jalen Hurts put together a fantastic week 1 performance. So a coin toss right about that 3 mark feels good to me.
This one stood out after both of these teams in their week 1 performances. So you had the Cardinals taking the Titans to the woodshed last Sunday, the Vikings falling to the Bengals in overtime, Arizona favored by 4.5 at home on Sunday. Too high or too low, Jules?
Okay, this one is too high. This is a classic week 1 overreaction. Cardinals blow out a good team in the Titans on the road. Minnesota loses to a perceived bad Bengals team that is going to beat the Bears in week 2. The Bengals are going to be 2-0. This one was 2.5. It's all the way to 4.5. Again, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to bet it, but if you made me bet this game, it is absolutely Minnesota plus 4.5 because they underperformed week 1 by a significant margin. The Cardinals overperformed in week 1 by a significant margin. Generally, these things tend to even out in week 2.
All right, AJ, do you agree? Is this more of an overreaction?
I mean, I actually think it could go a little higher here in favor of the Cards. Look, the defense allowed just 162 yards through the air this last week. That's the 4th fewest in the league. They got 6 sacks in that game, and Kirk Cousins isn't exactly the most mobile QB in the world. I was also surprised Cousins got so many attempts when you have a back like Dalvin Cook, who got 20 carries for his part. I do think the Cards could see this line move in their favor. I think it's too low.
All right, under 2 minutes. AJ, let's go with the Sunday night matchup between the Chiefs and Ravens. KC took care of business against the Browns in week 1 thanks to the usual cast of characters in Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey. Baltimore lost a wild one to the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Chiefs are favored on the road by 4 points. Too high or too low?
Definitely too low. Baltimore's leading rusher in week 1 was Lamar Jackson in terms of both yards at 86 and attempts at 12. That's a big concern for me. He fumbled 3 times, got sacked 3 times. There's just not enough offense on the Ravens side. I think this needs to move big time the other way.
Jules.
Yeah, Baltimore doesn't have the bodies right now, and we saw that on Monday Night Football, losing to, not the best Raiders team. The Raiders made a lot of mistakes and somehow won that game. So, yeah, this one's already been moving. Like, it opened at 1. The look ahead on Monday morning was 2.5. Now it's at 4. It's going to keep going. Just suck it up and bet the Chiefs if you're going to do it.